Hi. Hi, Bill.
I'm going to read from this beautiful edition of Enormous Changes at the Last Minute. Does everybody know that picture
Yeah.
on the back of it and what it says? I'll pass it around if anybody wants it. It's just amazing. Now, let's see. That should be like that?
It's good.
That's good?
Yeah.
I wasn't a student of Grace except in the way that everybody who knew her was. And she, over time, told me all of those precepts. We started teaching at Sarah Lawrence in '66. And I started working with her at the Peace Center in '67. That was the beginning of a big change in my life. The story is called Debts. Tell me if you can hear, because okay. A lady called me up today. She said she was in possession of her family archives. She had heard I was a writer. She wondered if I would help her write about her grandfather, a famous innovator and dreamer of the Yiddish theater. I said I had already used every single word I knew about the Yiddish theater to write one story, and I didn't have time to learn any more and then write about it. There was a long time in me between knowing and telling. She offered a share of the profits, but that is something too inorganic. I would never rush her grandfather's life into any literature I could make. The next day, my friend Lucia and I had coffee, and we talked about this woman. Lucia explained to me that it was probably hard to have family archives, or even only stories about outstanding grandparents or uncles when one was 60 or 70 and there was no writer in the family, and the children were in the middle of their own lives. She said it was a pity to lose all this inheritance just because of one's own mortality. I said, yes, I did understand. We drank more coffee. Then I went home. I thought about our conversation. Actually, I owed nothing to the lady who'd called. It was possible that I did owe something to my own family and the families of my friends. That is, to tell their stories as simply as possible in order, you might say, to save a few lives. Because it was her idea, the first story is Lucia's. I will tell it so that some people will remember Lucia's great-grandmother, also her mother, who in this story is 8 or 9. The grandmother's name was Maria. The mother's name was Anna. They lived on Mott Street in Manhattan in the early 1900s. Maria was married to a man named Michael. He had worked hard, but bad luck and awful memories had driven him to the hospital for the insane on Welfare Island. Every morning, Anna took the long trip by trolley and train, and trolley again, to bring him his hot dinner. He could not eat the meals at the hospital. When Anna rode out of the stone streets of Manhattan, over the bridge, to the countryside of Welfare Island, she was always surprised. She picked wildflowers in the fields, and then she went up to the men's ward. One afternoon she arrived as usual. Michael felt very weak and asked her to lean on his back and support him while he sat at the edge of his bed eating dinner. She did so, and that is how come when he fell back and died, it was in her thin little arms that he lay. He was very heavy. She held him so just for a minute or two, then let him fall to the bed. She told an orderly and went home. She didn't cry because she didn't like him. She spoke first to a neighbor, and then together they told her mother. Now this is the main part of the story. The man Michael was not her father. Her father had died when she was little. Maria, with the other small children, had tried to live through the hard time in the best way. She moved in with different, nearly related families in the neighborhood and worked hard, helping out in their houses. She worked well, And it happened that she was also known for the fine bread she baked. She would live in a good friend's house for a while, baking magnificent bread. But soon the husband of the house would say, "Maria bakes wonderful bread. Why can't you learn to bake bread like that?" He would probably then seem to admire her in other ways. Wisely, the wife would ask Maria to please find another home. One day at the Spring Street Festival, she met a man named Michael, a relative of friends. They couldn't marry because Michael had a wife in Italy. In order to live with him, Maria explained the following truths to her reasonable head. 1. This man, Michael, was tall, with a peculiar scar on his shoulder. Her husband had been unusually tall and had had a scar on his shoulder. 2. This man was red-headed. Her dead husband had been red-headed. 3. This man was a tailor. Her husband had been a tailor. 4. His name was Michael. Her husband had been called Michael. In this way, persuading her own understanding, Maria was able to not live alone at an important time in her life, to have a father for the good of her children's character, a man in her bed for comfort, a husband to serve. Still and all, though he died in her arms, Anna the child didn't like him at all. It was a pity because he had always called her my little one. Every day she had visited him, she had found him in the hallway waiting or at the edge of his white bed, and she had called out, "Hey, Zio, here's your dinner. Mama sent it. I have to go now." That's it.